আজি এটা কাম কৰোঁ অকণমান লাষ্ট পৰ্শ্যন যিখিনি পঢ়াইছোঁ তাৰ কেইটামান কুৱেশ্যনছ অকণমান কৰি লওঁ দেন উইল গ' টু দ্য পৰ্শ্যন ৱে উই হেভ লেফ্ট অ'কে চ' য'ৰ পৰা নোটটো লিখিছা মে বি ইউ কেন কিপ পেজেছ অৰ ইউ কেন ৰাইট দ্য কুৱেশ্যনছ ইন চাম আদাৰ পেজ ৰাইট তাৰে নোটটো ডিষ্টাৰ্ব নহয় যোনখিনি পাৰ্ট আমি কৰিলোঁ অকণমান জাষ্ট ৰিফ্ৰেছ টাইপ আৰু কিমান মনত আছে কুৱেশ্যনখিনি লিখি পেলাই চোৱা কিমান মনত আছে প্ৰথমতে এইটাই কৰি লওঁ এইকেইটা কৰা এটা এক্সাক্ট মনত নপৰিলেও মানে এটলিষ্ট ৱৰ্ডছ কেইটা পঢ়িছোঁ লাগিছে নাই ৰাইট ইটছ ফ্ৰম দ্য নোট ইট চেল্ফ ৰাইট এক্সাক্ট মনত নাথাকিবও পাৰে মে বি ইউ হেভ নট ষ্টাৰ্টেড বাই হাৰ্টিং ৰাইট ডাজ নট মেটাৰ এটলিষ্ট ইউ শুড বি ফেমিলিয়াৰ যে এইখিনি জানো ৰাইট আৰু মনত আছে যদি লিখা নাই যদি ইউ কেন ৰেফাৰ টু ইউৰ অ'ন নোটছ বিকজ উই হেভ নেভাৰ ছেড দেট উই আৰ গোয়িং টু কণ্ডাক্ট আ টেষ্ট টুডে right? It's not a test, it's just a revision, right? If you know, then you'll know kunkhini jagat ami etu bostu discuss koriso. So you can refer to your notes that you have, right? Ne agor bohi anai nai, anisa. Agor bohi kon anisa nai, jot likhisa? Mane eneke tumi jodi sai pelaiu likha, you'll remember the question. যে এইটো কুৱেশ্যন এইটো আনচাৰ দেখোন ইয়াৰ পৰা কুৱেশ্যন আহিছে চাই পেলাই লিখা একো নাই ইয়াৰ ভিতৰত এনিথিং দেট ইউ ৰিমেম্বাৰ লাষ্টৰটা পাৰিম অ'কে লাষ্টৰটা কোৱা atypical angiospermic anther is bilobed বাকীখিনি বাদ দিয়া and consist of how many মানে তুমি এইটো কুৱেশ্যনৰ কথা সুধিছা কোনটো অপশ্যন কৈছা A A, so I heard 8. No, you said A. ঠিক আছে তুমি আন্দাজৰ মানে এনে আৰু তাইটো কৈছে 4 কৈছে তুমি 3 কৈ দিয়া পাছ কাম চেছ আৰু ন two lobes হা hey, it's so good to discuss. At least you know what we are talking about, right? So we are talking about that anther, no? This one, right? One lobe, that other lobe, two lobes. A gute lobes bilakot ki ase? Microsporangium ase. Microsporangium mane? Name, one word. Exactly. I can hear your whisper. Anyway, ki koisa microspores? Microsporangium ki? MMC. Microsporangium is equal to MMC. Pollen grain to microsporangium buli koy. Tetihale microspore kak koy. কেনেকা কনফিউজ হৈছা ন ৱৰ্ডছ কেইটা হা যোনকেইটা ৱৰ্ডছ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট আছিলে সেইকেইটা ৱৰ্ডছে আমি যদি পাহৰি গ'লোঁ কেনেকৈ হ'ব কোৱা মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ্ছ অঁ মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ্ছ আছিলে মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰেঞ্জিয়াম আছিলে মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ'ফিল আছিলে মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ'জেনেছিছ আছিলে এই চাৰিটা ৱৰ্ড তেনেকৈ মেগাও আছিলে কিবা আছিলে মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰেঞ্জিয়াম ইজ ইকুৱেল টু মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ্ছ য়েছ নে ন' এইটো ডাঙৰ কথা কৰি দিলা নহয় মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ কি হয় এটা বেছিক কথা নাজানিলে কেনেকৈ হ'ব কোৱা মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ কি হয় অ'কে স্প'ৰেঞ্জিয়াম মানে কি বিৰাট scientific definition to দিয়া নাছিলোঁ মই কৈছিলোঁ sporangium মানে কি sporangium wordটোৰ যদি meaning মনত আছে তেতিয়াহ'লে you'll be able to answer sporangium is nothing but a house sporangium is a sac য'ত বস্তু থাকে sporangium is a sac microsporangium হ'ব পাৰে megasporangium হ'ব পাৰে megaspores থাকিব পাৰে microspores থাকিব পাৰে যদি microspores থাকে তেতিয়াহ'লে microsporangium যদি megaspore থাকে তেতিয়াহ'লে megasporangium so sporangium মানে is the house right unscientific obviously unbotanical language house বুলি একো বস্তু নাই no so it is that area inside which the microspores are present or it is that area inside which the megaspores are present so microsporangium কি হয় এটা first to microspores কি হয় microspore থাকা ঘৰটোকে তুমি microsporangium ক'বা তো microspores কি হয় আৰু microsporangium কি হয় সব উৰি গ'ল ন okay number 6 এটা কাম কৰ নালাগে stick to number 5 search কাৰণ মই যদি কৈ দিওঁ আকৌ তোমালোকে পাহৰি যাবা সেইকাৰণে তোমালোকে নিজে বিচাৰা meaning of microspores and microsporangium microspores pala what is microspore and what is microsporangium answer is correct exactly jot pollen thake tak ami ki boli kom the other name for microsporophyll fill hole to leaf pollen ko thake microsporangium thake very correct it is also called as pollen sac yes or no right so enter ts korila edinko dekhila what you see you will see the microsporangium question ki ahise keta microsporangium dekha baba keta dekha baba sarita yes or no we have drawn something like this yes or no so microsporangium keta thakibo sarita he karentu ki tetrasporangium nasile janu bilobe then tetrasporangium so answer to etu hoboi ঠিক আছে কিন্তু এটা মাইক্রোস্পোর আর মাইক্রোস্পোরেঞ্জিয়াম বুজিলু ইয়ার ভিতৰত যিখিনি থাকিব এইবিলাকক কি বুলি কম মাইক্রোস্পোরস ভেরি গুড microspores is equal to pollen grain right pollen grain kor bhitor thake pollen sac kor bhitor thake pollen sac is also called as microsporangium is the concept clear now right okay fine so microspores microsporangium don't get confused microspore mane pollen grain microsporangium mane pollen sac right okay come to this question select the odd one out endothecium khunisa middle layer khunisa hilum khunisa tapetum khunisa right so kuntu kar logot nimile এটা ইয়াৰে ভিতৰত কোনবা এটা ফিমেল পাৰ্টৰ লগত ৰিলেটেড কোনোবা কেইটামান মেল পাৰ্টৰ লগত ৰিলেটেড Exactly. Male part related. So, so answer obviously would be hilum. Karan endothecium middle layer tapetum kot porhisila. Walls of the pollen sac. Right? Parietal cell that we remember now, archisporial cell divide into two cell, parietal or sporogenous cell. Parietal cell divide and redivide kori pele ki form korse walls. Kiman layer 2 to 6 layers. Right? Tar bhitor ei gutei bilak hol layers of the pollen sac. Kintu etu ki hoy? Hilum is a part of the ovary, especially the ovule. Right? Okay. Come to this. Name the layer of the anther in which alpha cellulosic fibrous band is present. We are talking about what? We are talking about the layers of the pollen sac. Layers of the pollen sac, outermost layer, epidermis. Next, endothecium. Next, middle layer. Next, by innermost layer, tapetum. Right? Tar bhitor alpha cellulosic fibrous bands kot thake, and if you know, very good. Second point that you have to know is alpha cellulosic fibrous bands are kam ki. What is the function? Right? Two things that you have to study about this one. Kot thake, pollen sac thake. Ba pollen sac wall thake. Right? Kintu wall to bahut layers ase, kuntu layer thake. Endothecium. Very good. It stays in endothecium. Our kam ki asile? It helps in তোমালোকে revision কৰা নাই নেকি? It helps in the dehiscence of the anther, yes or no? So endothecium or dutai point. Endothecium ki thake alpha cellulosic fibrous bands thake, the cellulose deposition, and the function is dehiscence. And the third point that you have to study is kar na thake, hydrophytes bilako na thake. Right? Okay. Next, this one. Exactly. Moi disile angiosperms are common. Question ahise. Ki dise? Common type. Angiosperm what to diya nai. Right? So it a common type boli kole ki koba. Jedi moi angiosperm point to disu. Tar bhitor to duita pori goise. Isobilateral pori goise, tetrahedral pori goise. Kintu from question point of view, the answer would be isobilateral. Karon most advanced to kudise. Right? Oh, so it will be isobilateral. Likha. এটা কাম কৰা অকমান এটো কোন কনফিউজন হৈছে না কোৱেশ্চনটো আৰু কোন পাৰ্ট দি দিয়া এটো পাৰিম এটা তো পাৰিম ইন মনোকটছ আইসোবাইলেট্রাল Okay. Name the type of cytokinesis required to produce tetrahedral type. Cytokinesis kiman type asile duta. Eta asile successive aru eta hol simultaneous. Successive mane cytokinesis kebar hobo dubar. Aru simultaneous mane gute mitosis hoi joa pisat cytokinesis ebar hobo. Jedi dubar hoy the normal process tetia hole arrangement kenuka hobo isobilateral. Right? Jedi tumar ebar hoy last thought তেতিয়াহলে কি হ'ব tetrahedral so answer would be tetrahedral আৰু ইয়াতে কি দিছে which type of cytokinesis এ খুদিছে which type of cytokinesis is required for tetrahedral no answer no successive is for isobilateral simultaneous next Polyspory. Poly মানে কি? বেশি। Spory each and every question is referring to the male part, no? So we are talking about microspores only, right? Normally at a MMC, it a divide kore, microspore keta produce kore. When the MMC or microspore mother cell undergoes meiosis, what is the number of microspores that it produces? 4, obviously 4, meiosis hole 4টাই হবো, কিন্তু there were certain plants june niki eta meiosis hote 4টাতকে বেশি spore form করে. That was called as polyspory. Normally কেটা form করে 4টা, but we have exceptions, right? There are certain plants june niki if one MMC undergoes meiosis, more than 4 microspores are formed and the process would be called as ki polyspory. So you are supposed to give the example, and there is only one example that you should remember. যেটো লিখি মই লিখাইছো কাস্কুটা. Yes, that's the only ones. Bas. Obviously আৰু বেলেগ বেলেগ আছে, কিন্তু আমাৰ পঢ়া মতে আমি হিকিনিয়ে পঢ়িম অকল. আৰু কাস্কুটাৰ ইনফৰমেশন মনত আছে, parasite, right? Total stem parasite, exactly. Right. So almost 10 questions. Basobo, we'll go back to our portion where we have left in the last class. Etia, ekita question or answer is kita fast. First one, what is the ploidy of the cells of microspore tetrad? Haploid, very good. Next. Germ pores ki asile? Where? Exine. Next, intine is made of? Pectocellulose, good. It is a pine. Right? That's all. Now we go back to ovule. Right? So in the last class, what we have drawn is, we have drawn a structure like this, right? Something like this, right? It had a stalk. So it is structured already Akisu, so we understand, right? We are talking about a ovule. What type of ovule is this? The one that is most commonly found in angiosperms. Which ovule is commonly found in angiosperms? Anatropous ovule, right? Kuntu ovule of anatropous koba? Jar micropyle faces downwards, right? So when we talk about a ovule A2 chekat whether edukon ki hoy? Covering. Covering is called as integuments, right? The area where the integuments are absent is called as micropyle. Opposite to micropyle, this area would be called as salaja, right? Next, this part, dotted area, would be called as nucellus. The stalk would be called as funicle. This area would be called as hilum. And this area would be called as raphe, right? So we remember ovule origin to stalk, it a funicle, and where will you find the ovule? Obviously inside the ovary. Where exactly in the ovary? Where will you find the ovule? Ovule kot ase? Ovary bhitor. Ovary kot ase. Suppose we are talking about this as the ovary. A ovary to bhitor ki thakibo? Ovule thakibo. Ovule to yato thakibo pare? Yato thakibo pare, right? So beleg ovules, beleg ovary, beleg places of, different locations where the ovule is present. Remember something called as placentation that you all have studied, right? So placentation or ki porisila. What is placentation? The arrangement of ovules. Where are they arranged? Obviously inside the ovary. Where exactly in the ovary? It depends on what? Tumalge placentation kenuka porisila, something like this. Enakana porisila no? Etu ki P. Then you have talked about something like this, right? You have talked about something like this, right? So বহুত আছিলে যেনেকৈ marginal আছিলে, free central, এইটো কি presentation, free central, এইটো কি আছিলে, exile, এইটো কি আছিলে, marginal, ঠিক তেনেকৈ এটা presentation আমি কি পঢ়িছিলোঁ যে it is basal, right? Ekdom base of the ovary thake, etc., etc. So coming back to this, presentation talks about arrangement of the ovule. Ovules bilak kot arrange hoy thakibo depends on where the placenta is present. Right? Now what is placenta? A group of parenchymatous tissues that provides nourishment to the developing ovule. So ovary bhitorte jote placenta khini ase tathe ovules khini develop koribo, right? In this case etuk ami ki boli koiso marginal, no? So ovules bilak marginot kyo ase karon placenta to marginot ase. Yate centerot kyo ase karon placenta khini centerot ase. You have also read something like this. Enuka dhoroner presentation eta porhisila. Jono diki master do dekha pai parietal presentation, right? So a edges ot ase kyo karon placenta to tat ase. So coming to this now, ovule kot thakibo jot placenta thakibo tat thakibo. So just a rough diagram. Etu jedi gute ovary hoy, ovary wall khon dekhaisu no, ekhon ki hoy, ovary wall, right? Ovary wall or placenta ase, placenta jot ase tate ovule to thakibo, eta ovule or ki thake, stalk thake, right? And then we have this structure, right? Next, inside, when we talk about this ovule, it is a kiman cell structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cell. Nucleus kiman ase? 8. 8 nucleus, 7 cell structure. Prothom dina enuko asil ne, prothom dina single cell asil. The question is, etu to ma pura mature dekhaiso. Mature tot keta cell ase? 7 cell asil. Prothom dina pura 7 cell asil ne prothom dina ei integuments kini bhitorot eta cell asil. Obviously eta cell asil, eta cell divide kori pelai he 7 cell form korise. Now the point is, ei bostu to ultimately seed form koribo nokore. Ekiniye seed form koribo by embryo sac kwa ji kwa. But we are talking about it as ovule. The question is, who forms the ovule? Integuments ase? Thik ase. Integuments are bhitorot. We see something called as nucellus. Nucellus ami ki dekhaiso etu structure ki dekhaiso the proper ovule or the egg sac or the embryo sac, after fertilization embryo sac buli kobo, seed buli kobo, etc., etc. Eta kotha to hol prothom dina ki enukwa asile janu, enukwa to nasile, prothom dina ki asile, something like this, right? Eblak ki asile, ekhiniu dotted, it refers to what? Nucellus. So integuments or bhitorot ki asile? Kisuman cells or collection asile, right? Collections ei gute cells kini ki boli koso? Nucellus. Then from these entire cell, one cell towards the micropylar area enlarged and started behaving like a microspore mother cell. Okay. Who forms the ovule? A cell of the nucellus forms the ovule. Is that statement understood? Right? What is this? Nucellus. Nucellus is a single cell in a collection of cells. Collection of cells. So what I said, a cell of the nucellus forms the ovule. Tamane yatte bahut cell ase no? Sobe ovule form koribo niki nokore? To kune koribo? One cell that lies towards the micropylar end will enlarge. Is the point clear? Baki bahut cell asile, dangor kun hol micropylar osor. A cell to is a single cell. E divide kori ultimately ki form koribo 7 cells or 8 nucleate structure. Is the concept clear? So question ahe, who forms the ovule? Nucellus forms the ovules, right? Prothomote nucellus hoy thake, parenchymatous tissues hoy thake, eta cell dangor hoy pele ovule hisabe function kore. Ovule hisabe function koribo lagile, ovule is also called as ki megaspore. So megaspore mother cell thakibo lagibo. Who forms megaspore mother cell? Cell of the nucellus forms megaspore mother cell. Clear? Karon soa etia ovule koi aso, kintu ovule to ketia form korise? Meiosis or pisothe form korise. Kunuba to mother hisabe kam korisile no? So cells of the nucellus were twice n. This twice n, one cell enlarged. Etur ploidy kiman hobo? Twice n, gute cells bilakor jodi twice n hoy, hetu cellor ploidy twice n hobo. A twice n cell to ki hisabe behave koribo? Megaspore mother cell. He ki undergo koribo? meiosis কি ফৰ্ম কৰিব megaspores কেইটা is the concept clear right directly কি কৈছো cell of the nucellus forms the ovule right cell of the nucellus forms the ovule মানে কি cell of the nucellus will undergo meiosis and then forms megaspores or ovules I think it's clear right so এখিনলৈকে হল so ইয়াৰ পৰা আমি কি ডিসকাস কৰি আছিলো hilum ডিসকাস কৰিলো already what is hilum the point where the stalk and the body meets that's called as a hilum what is raphe sometimes what is seen is the funicle extends over the body of the ovule this part the extended part is called as raphe right talking about integuments is covering যদি এটা ওভিউলত ইন্টিগুমেন্টস থাকে তেতিয়াহে সেই স্ট্ৰাকচাৰটোক আমি ওভিউল বুলি ক'ব পাৰিম যদি ইন্টিগুমেন্টস নাথাকে অকল এনেকুৱা বস্তু এটা থাকে তেতিয়াহলে উইল বি ইউজিং আ ৱৰ্ড কল্ড এজ megasporangium and not ovule megasporangium is something that is present in all the plants starting from bryophytes to angiosperms megasporangium sobore ase karon egg sobore ase no egg thaka ghor tuke ami ki buli kom megasporangium buli kom right so egg sobore ase that does not mean ovule sobore ase in this structure egg ase egg code ase etur bhitorot kintu ei gute structure to jihetu integuments ase we can use the word as ovule kintu egg thaka apparatus tuk ami megasporangium ko megasporangium and ovule actually means the same but with integuments and without integuments right in the plant kingdom ovule car ase plant kingdom buli kole we can start it from algae to angiosperms angiosperms ovule car thake keneke gom paba jare seed thake seed car thake start from algae algae seeds ase nai nai no sure no algae seeds ase nai ne bhabibo লাগিব আছে নাইবা নাই ন sure no okay যদি নাই তো obviously ovule নাই come to the next one bryophytes bryophytes are seeds আছে নাই 11 ৰ কনসেপ্ট খিনি কি হল 11 ৰ কনসেপ্ট খিনি ফিনিশ নেকি ও পঢ়া নাই খিনি খেলি মেলি হ্যাজার্ড হৈ গৈছে না বস্তুটো এখানে কনসেপ্টটো ক্লিয়ার নহয় কি প্ল্যান কিংডম পঢ়াই নাই I don't know why, because it's not skipped. I mean, it's not dropped out, no? It lage to. Living world, biological classification. Hebo porhwa nai. Aru tumalge porhale ki last of binor pora mane heri physiology photosynthesis respiration photosynthesis mineral nutrition na lage baru plant growth and hormones hebur porhaise kintu plant kingdom nai pora morphology porhaise okol plant kingdom nai porhua what MCQ from NEET point of view ne from board's point of view school point of view no eta kotha to hol tumalge jehetu NEET diba jikhini পঢ়িছা tumalge 11 ত হেকিনতে যিকোনো এটা টপিক উঠাই পেলাই just see NEET or questions kini koribo parisa nai ঠিক আছে if yes it's fine ঠিক আছে অকমান রিভিশন কৰিলে হ'ব যদি নাই পাৰা then we need to do that again কৰিবই লাগিব 11 টো মই যেটো বুজিছো 11 ৰ পোৰশন খিনি কৰিব লাগিব কাৰণ NEET to 11 ৰ ম্যাক্সিমাম আহে হয় না কনসেপ্ট ক্লিয়াৰ কৰিব লাগিব প্ল্যান কিংডম এটা সব বেসিক কথাটো যে প্ল্যান কিংডমত কেটা গ্ৰুপ আছে সিডস কাৰ আছে ইফ ইউ ডোন্ট নো দ্যাটস আ বেসিক থিং ন পঢ়ালে তোমালকে কেনে গম পাবা anyway forget don't worry anyway our botany portion very less in second year once we are done provided you have the patience to stay then we can start with 11 কিন্তু last of our students এনেকুৱা হয় ন whole 12 course finish but 11 portion is very important we'll be discussing and নহলে প্ৰত্যেকটো বস্তুলে তুমি 11 ৰ ৰেফাৰ কৰিছো দেখিছা নাই everything right okay forget so seed কাৰ না থাকে seeds অকল দুটা group of plants থাকে have you heard something called as a naked seed শুনিছা নাই কি হ'ব এটো শুনা নাই seed তাৰমানে চোৱা হা প্লান্ট কিংডমত তোমাৰ এতিয়া প্লান্ট কিংডম লব যাওঁ তথাপি প্লান্ট কিংডমত পাঁচটা গ্ৰুপ হা এলগি ব্ৰায়োফাইটছ টেৰিডোফাইট জিমনোস্পাৰ্মছ এঞ্জিওস্পাৰ্মছ তাৰ ভিতৰতে seeds অকল ইহঁতৰ থাকে সেইকাৰণে তাহাঁতক spermatophytes বুলি কৈছে ঠিক আছে seed থাকে বাকি এইবিলাকৰ seed নাথাকে দুটা তিনটা চাৰিটা মান ওয়াৰ্ড জানিব লাগিব এটা হল ক্ৰিপ্টোগ্যাম এটা হল ফেনেৰোগ্যাম এটা হল spermatophyte ৰাইট সো spermatophyte মানে seed bearing plants অকল ইহঁত দুটা তো ইহঁতৰটো seed থাকে obviously আমৰ ভিতৰত গুটি থাকে we understood gymnosperms বিলাকৰ seed থাকে নাথাকে seed থাকে ovule তো থাকে কিন্তু তাহাঁতক কি naked seed সো আমি যে প্লান্ট কিংডমতে এনেকে লিখিছো উল্টা পুল্টা কেওটো লিখিব পাৰিলো হয় এলগি টু ইয়াত নিদি পেলাই ব্ৰায়োফাইটছ টু ইয়াত দিব পাৰিলো হয় ৰাইট এঞ্জিওস্পাৰ্মছ টু লাষ্টত নিদি পেলাই জিমনোস্পাৰ্মছ টু দিব পাৰিলো হয় হোৱাট ইজ দ্য পইণ্ট দ্যাট উই আৰ ৰাইটিং ইট লাইক দিছ আমি এইটো সিকুৱেন্সত কিয় লিখো exactly it talks about evolution right so what's the primitive plants by lower plants algae so what's the highest plant heri so what's the highest sob characteristics almost angiosperms are thakiba seeds ka thake angiosperms so ihotot ke ihot okoman holeu to lowest so ihotor seed ase nai ase kintu naked what is a naked seed and a covered seed angiosperms ki thake covered seed gymnosperms ki thake naked seed covered seed mane amor guti tu kihere cover kora ase যোনখিনি বস্তু তোমালকে খোৱা পাল্প টুৰে নাই নেকি yes or no so seed is covered by what কোনে seed form কৰে ovule right ovule to ক'ত থাকে ovary ভিতৰত এটোটো জানো if this is the ovary this is the ovule right after fertilization ovule কি হলে কনভার্ট হয় seed হলে ovary কি হলে কনভার্ট হয় right clear so seed ase seed to kihere cover hoy ase ovary so naked seed mane ki nai ovary nai right so in gymnosperms ki thake ovule to thake ovary na he karone pine or fruit nupua mango kintu fruit ase cycas pinus these are examples of gymnosperms right gymnosperms are seed ase kintu gymnosperms are fruit nai fruit kyo nai karon ovary nai right so jehetu seed to exposed hoy they are called as naked seeds right coming back to this ebilak bostu ami ako plant kingdom jeta kori pura bhalke korai dim ha okay moi kihor por discussion to loisilu je we were drawing something like this and this was called as ki integuments right etu point at last class at eriso integuments after fertilization ki form kore integuments ki hoy covering of this part a portion to after fertilization ki form koribo a portion to seed form koribo te covering to kihor hobo seed or covering form koribo nokore right so when we talk about seed covering dukhon generally thake ekhon hol testa aru ekhon hol tegmen outer jonkhon integument hi ki form kore testa inner integument khone ki foribo tegmen and the best thing my best example that you can see these two integuments is the gram seed ডাঙৰ কাবুলি বুটটো সাবা যেটা টিআইটো বাহিৰতে এখন ব্ৰাউন থাকে তাৰ ভিতৰটো এখন হোৱাইট ফিলামেন্টাছ এখন কভাৰ থাকে right jedi bhalke gusua dekha paba so testa tegment will not discuss this now karon ekhini ako morphology part right from ovule point of view we know we have discussed micropyle we have discussed salaja we have discussed hilum raphe etc we know what a funicle is we know what a integument is what is a integument the covering of a ovule is called as integument after fertilization integuments converts into the seed coat right seed coat kiman layers 2 layers talking about integuments moi jetia ovule to akisu integuments kiman khon akisu dukhon jetia dukhon integuments thake tak ami ki buli kom bitegmic right the ovule is called as bitegmic right we have a word called as unitegmic ovule also. We have words like tritegmic, tetrategmic, ategmic, etc. Both words are there. Kintu iman nalage, maximum amar etu word or etu word lage. Bitegmic ovule is something that is commonly seen in angiosperms. Unitegmic mane ki single integuments keikon thakibo. If this is the ovule, integument keikon thakibo. Ekhon. Right? Tak ami ki buli kom unitegmic. Angiosperms or keikon integument ase dukhon. So bitegmic ovule is a characteristic of something that's commonly seen in angiosperms. Unitegmic ovule is a characteristic of gymnosperm. Right? Hekin loke korilo kisumanor integuments nathake tak ami ki buli kom ategmic. Hekin loke discussion ho goise. Okay, aru eta kotha micropyle function ki asile? What is a micropyle? The area where the integuments are absent is called as a micropyle. That is the area through which dash enters. Micropyle function ki. Micropyle is nothing but a pore, phuta eta. He phuta tor kam ki? Micropyle before fertilization, after fertilization, duta bele function. Before fertilization, function ki, remember this one. Ito to jano? Stigma style ovary jano? Yar bhitor ki ase? Ovule to ase? Ovulot suppose egg, right? Eto ki stigma style, right? Aru eto ovary. Stigma style ovary part of a gynoecium, right? So yate pollen grain to pore. Pollen grain to pollen tube dal ahi jay. Pollen tube or duta male gametes ase nai. Eta male gamete e egg to logot fuse hole he ki hobo? Fertilization hobo. So egg to logot fuse hobole he ovule to bhitor humabo lagibo nalage. So kuntu side di humabo. Tole di boli nohoy junpine micropyle to ase he pindi. Keteba micropyle uporleo thake. Right? So micropyle is the area through which the pollen tube penetrates. Right, so that it can do the process of fertilization or conduct fertilization. Our opposite area to ki boli koy selaja. Micropyle ematro juntu kolu base defined as ki the area through which pollen tube penetrates. No, kintu there are exceptions seen in nature. Ketiaba kisuman plants on pollen tube selaja reo jai. Kisumanot integuments or through jai. The common condition is going through the micropyle. Right? So, ekin loke discussion ase aji likha new syllabus. Note to ami continue koru. So, new syllabus ki hoy ite to ako likhabo nalage. We understand the group of parent gametes, tissues, etc. So, what are the points that you have to study about new syllabus? Okay, so question ki hai? So we see two types of ovules in nature, one in which the nucellus is poorly developed and the other in which the nucellus is well developed. Question ki hai? Name of the ovule where you see poorly developed nucellus. So poorly developed nucellus is called as tenunucellate. This is called as crassinucellate. Tenekeও question ahibo pare ba ultakeও ahibo pare je tenunucellate poorly developed ne well developed nucellus thake. So this part is also important, this is also important. However, the example is not important from examination point of view, right? So poorly developed, well developed, buzi palu. Talking about these two words, gamopitely or polypitely, এই দুটা word তোমালোকে ক'ত পঢ়িছা morphology, right? So tar মানে কি? Pitely talks about petals obviously, gamo or poly. Exactly. Free. Fused petals, free petals, right? Free, this is free, this is free and that is fused, right? How will you remember? Poly mane bahut besi. Bahut besi thakile tumi bandhi thobo nwariba to. Right? Okay, one trick to remember. And for this case, etia pori asa karon tumalike gom paisa tenunucellate, crassinucellate, kali ki hobo confuse hoy jaba. Right? Crassinucellate besi asile ne kom asile. How will you remember? Ohomiyat ami kau no kiba eta bostu bahut kom thakile ki kau tenei kom thake. Kiba eta kori pele mukhosta korile hol ar bostuto. Right? So this is the first point about nucellus. We'll go to the next point. Next likha. Eta yaar par questions ki hai first sound তাৰপিছত we'll understand the meaning. Question ahe definition to report. What is a perispermic seed? A seed with persistent nucellus is called as a perispermic seed. First point. Second, examples of seeds. Coffee, this and that. Aru jodi examples ahe ei tinta bhitorte ahibo aru tatke beshi nahe. Eta kotha to hol persistent nucellus mane ki and what is the meaning of this line? Persistent mane ki সদায় থাকে, right? Something that stays forever, that is called as persistent. So certain seeds কি থাকে nucellus খিনি থাকে, seed হোৱাৰ পিছতো আমি nucellus যদি দেখা পাওঁ তেতিয়া তাক আমি কি বুলি কম persistent nucellus, right? And what is the meaning of this? Yeah, this is the exception. Normally এটো হয়, তাৰ মানে exactly. মই অলপ আগতে কি কৈছিলো যে we have collection of seeds, right? That was called as কি nucellus, right? আৰু এখন হৈছিলে integument. Yar pisor diagram to ki asile? So we have talked about this. Suppose we are talking about the same ovule. Eta seed by eta cell of the nucellus becomes big. Prothomote ki asile? Ekini nucellus. Ekhon ki integument. Eto buzi palu. Nucellus e ki form koribo? Ovule to form koribo, right? So nucellus or bahut seed asil, bahut cells asil. Gute cells to form no kore. Okol eta cell e form koribo. Eta cell will become big. What will happen to the rest of the cells? Is the meaning understood, right? So jetia eta embryo form kore, tetia nucellus na thake. Eta don't get confused between embryo, ovule, megaspore, etc., etc. Everything means the same. Only on the basis of difference to ki is before fertilization kosa na after fertilization kosa. It's the same thing, right? A portion to ultimately ami seed buli kobo paru. A seed to kami embryo sac buliu kobo paru, right? Embryo ketia hobo jetia tar bhitor baby plant dal develop koribo ta agoloke ki buli kobo seed buli kobo. Seed ketia kobo fertilization or pisot ovule to seed buli kobo. Agote ki asile ovule. So everything means the same, right? So we are talking about embryo, that means we are talking about this structure itself, right? So when this structure is formed, jontu niki future embryo sac hobo, embryo sac form kora age nucellus or gute cells bo degenerate hoi jay. Degenerate hoi pelai yare jiman বিলাক contents আছে গুটেই contents কিনি absorb কৰি হি ডাঙৰ হৈ যায় এটা সেল ডাঙৰ হ'ব বুলি কৈছিল ন ডাঙৰ হ'ব লাগিলে তোৰা খোৱা বস্তু লাগিব তো খোৱা বস্তু কোপৰা পাব তা গুটেই cells বিলাক absorb কৰি লব হি it will take the contents, it will grow, and ultimately it will behave as megaspore mother cell. It will form the ovule, it will form the seed, it will form the embryo sac. Clear? কিন্তু কেতিয়াবা কি হয় কিছুমান seeds after fertilization seed puli কোৱা লগে লগে it's a product that is formed before fertilization and after fertilization. After fertilization, তো after fertilization nucellus দেখা পাবা নেকি না পাও ন কাৰণ fertilization হোৱাৰ আগতে এটো structure হে দেখা পাইছো কিন্তু কিছুমান seeds after fertilization পিছতো আমি কি দেখা পাও nucellus present থাকে. So যোনবিলাক seeds nucellus is present even after fertilization, that is called as perispermic seed, and the examples are this. Right? Next point. Yeah. নালাগে এইটো ডায়াগ্ৰাম পিছত দিম Is this understood? Okay. So who forms the megaspores? Nucellus, right? What is the ploidy of the megaspore? Megaspore or ploidy kiman? Ploidy? Haploid. Oh, 4 haploid, no, 4 megaspores and a haploid, right? So it's haploid. What is the ploidy of the megaspore mother cell? Yes, chuntu cell meiosis undergo kore, hi ki hobo? Diploid hobo. Question ahe, what is the ploidy of the nucellus? Exactly. Karan megaspore mother cell ki hoy? Nucellus or eta cell. So he is it twice in, baki cells bilako to twice in hoy. So what is the ploidy of the nucellus? Obviously twice in. Hey, twice in or eta cell would behave as megaspore mother cell, and that megaspore mother cell will undergo meiosis and will be forming 4 megaspores. Out of the 4, only 1 remains functional. Baki bilak sob mori jay, right? So this is all about the structure of the ovule. Next, we'll go to the next topic. Likhiba types of ovules. Ekhin loke to clear, right? ঘৰত গৈ এবাৰ ৰিভিশন কৰিবা নহ'লে নতুন নতুন টাৰ্মছ পাইছা ন পাহৰি যাবা যেনেকৈ মাইক্ৰস্প'ৰ পাহৰি গৈছা ৰাইট So types of ovules, since we are discussing which group of plant, we are discussing which group of plant? Angiosperms, so topic to angiosperm hai. So we see different types of ovules in angiosperms based on what? Based on curvature or movement, right? So whenever we talk about an ovule, we understand that tat ki thakibo, funicle thakibo, micropyle thakibo, celagia thakibo, etc. etc. Ketiaba, as we have discussed, micropyle to upor pine sabo pare, ketiaba tolole sabo pare, ketiaba sidole sabo pare. Instead of using all these words, we can use angles. Right? It could be a straight ovule, it could be a 90-degree ovule, it could be 180-degree ovule, it could be 360-degree ovule, etc., etc. So based on that, we see 6 types of ovules in angiosperms. So we are going to write that. And out of the 6 types, the one that is common is something that we have drawn. Imande is aki asilo. Jot ki asile micropyle to tolle sai asile. Right? Etuk ami ki buli kom? Anatropous. Kiman types thakibo? 6 types. So here note to likhi lo. So different types of ovules based on what? যিমান বিলাক লিখিছো underline কি কৰিছো based on the degree of curvature means their movement, right? So based on the degree of curvature we see 6 types. The first one is autotropous ovule. What is the autotropous ovule? It is also called as upright or straight ovule. So you need to know the words upright and straight ovule. Question ahe, straight ovule or autotropous ovule is commonly seen in gymnosperms, right? One example of a gymnosperm could be Cycas, Pinus, etc. But the point here is whatever examples that we have given does not talk about gymnosperms only. Polygonum, angiosperm, right? ইয়াৰ ভিতৰত অকল Cycas হে gymnosperm. So commonly seen in gymnosperm, so obviously প্ৰথমতে আমি কি লিখিছো 6 types seen in angiosperm. তাৰমানে angiospermতো আছে কিন্তু gymnospermsত অকল আমি কি দেখা পাওঁ autotropous, right? Okay. And the most primitive হ'বই কাৰণ angiospermsত আকৌ কি আহিব dicots আৰু monocots আহি যাব হৈ গ'ল নেক্সট লিখা নাম্বাৰ 2 anatropous সাইডত অকমানিকে ডায়াগ্ৰামটো আঁকি লবা নহলে পাহৰি যাবা লিখি লোৱা ফাৰ্ষ্ট So, duta ki first we have discussed a straight ovule. Next, number 2 is an anatropous ovule. Anatropous ovule, how will you recognize? Micropyle faces towards the ground, right? So, anatropous ovule points ki important. It is also called as the inverted ovule. Agor to ki asle straight ovule, right? Next is more commonly seen in angiosperms, more commonly seen in gymnosperms. I mean, duita compare koriso. Next one, as I said, the angle is important. Question I had, the ovule that shows 180-degree curvature is also called as, it is called as anatropous. So, angle gita ami sabolibo. I think it's understood, right? Next come to hemitropous. Hemitropous is also called as transverse ovule. However, that point is not important. What is important is this ovule will show an angle of 90-degree ovule is called as 90-degree ovule is called as hemitropous, right? If you look into this, this angle 90-degree, right? So, diagram and this word. Now, example is also important. Example of ki this adult plantor naam that is called as ranunculus. Ranunculus or information tumale kod porisa already 11 ot porhi ahisa. Tothapi ami heri pisot porhim. 12 to ase episode ami will come across if suppose more exactly pahorisu 11 or 12 or what are the points that you have to remember about? From here you have to remember the example of hemitropous is ranunculus 90-degree. Ranunculus as a plantor kisman bostu monor rakhibo lage. Ranunculus first water plant first point. Water plant ki boli ko hydrophyte, right? Side or hydrophyte likhi loba na. It shows something called as plasticity. And which plasticity, to be specific, heterophily. So, ranunculus boli kore, these are the points that should come to your mind. First, it is a hydrophyte. It shows plasticity and it shows something called as heterophily. What is heterophily? An example of plasticity. Plasticity ki hoy. Plasticity is certain plants but certain organism changes with the environment. Kisuman organisms eke thake. Kisuman organisms junto environment ase according to that to adapt themselves tahante ki kore change kore. Changes because of the environment is called as plasticity, right? Actually sabole gole changes is called as plasticity. It could be of two types. Either it is because of internal reasons or it is because of external reasons. If the changes are because of external reason, it is called as extrinsic plasticity, and if the changes are because of internal reason like hormones, it is called as intrinsic plasticity. Okay, plasticity, I think it's understood, changes, right? Our maximum sense of plasticity, we refer to the environmental changes, right? Okay, next is ranunculus plant, a characteristic that is called as heterophily. Heterophily, phily is nothing but a leaf. Hetero mane ki? Different, right? Generally ki hoy adult plant or sob leaves bilak eke thake. Kintu kisuman plants enukwa ase jar niki duta type of leaves in the same plant. That is called as heterophily, and the best example that you all have seen is coriander. Dhania dekhisa na? Dhania to jete young hoy thake na leaf to akman lobe nisna hoy. Jete matured is a dissected phata nisna hoy. Right? Ekedal plant or duita type of leaf thakibo pare na? That is called as heterophily. Ranunculuseo heterophily dekhai, coriandereo heterophily dekhai. Kintu coriander changes or shows heterophily because of hormones. So that is an example of intrinsic plasticity. Ranunculus is an example of extrinsic plasticity, right? So heterophily and ranunculus, tamane we have a plant, jar niki water plant, right? Thakibo. So adult plantor So you have a plant with two different types of leaves. The leaves above water looks different. The leaves underwater looks different. So the same plant showing two different types of leaf is called as heterophyly. A plant dale duta type of leaf kyo karne hoise because as a means of adaptation. Right? Jedi iman dangor leaf panir tolot thakile heten tetiale ki hol heten waves or karne phati gol heten. Right? So they could have not like survived. The leaves are fati jay photosynthesis keneke hobo. So as a means of adaptation tahator ekhini beleg kihor karone change hoise environmental karone change hoise. So that is an example of ki plasticity. What type of plasticity? Extrinsic plasticity. I think it's understood now. Ekhini one extra huh. Next so ami straight ovule palu 180-degree ovule palu aru 90-degree ovule palu. So campylotropous all examples can be important, right? Our angles are more or less than 90 degree generally question aha nai jodi aha 90 degree ahibo 180 degree ahibo, right? 360 degree ahibo. So more or less it would be called as campylo. However, examples ki leguminosae aru crucifery, we are talking about family. Leguminosae family at an example, legumes are at example gram, pea, bean, etc. Right? Talking about crucifery, crucifery is the other name of which family? Kisuman families, angiosperms tomage porhisa sake morphology part ot, jeta last part ot angiospermic families porhibo lage no. Tate one point that you have to know is kisuman families are renaming hoise, right? Old name or new name ase. So thik teneke Brassicaceae aru crucifery means the same. Brassicaceae best example ki? Brassica campestris. Brassica campestris is a scientific name for bustard, right? So Brassicaceae or crucifery aru morphology akko question ahe je crucifery naam to kiyo dise, right? Why is it called as crucifery? Crucifery, that crucifery word has come from the word called as crucifer. Crucifer buji pao, Jesus Christ crucifer korisile, crucifixion or word ami jano. What is crucifer? To put it in a cross is called as crucifer, right? Jesus Christ cross no? So in this family, all the flowers, and especially the petals of the flowers, look like a cross. They are arranged in the form of a cross, and so that family is called as ki crucifery, right? So keteba jodi horiyo gosor pat full to dekhi jano, that yellow flower eta thake no, sabason tomar enuka dhuniya ke eta thakibo, eneka thakibo, eneke thakibo, eneke. So you have this, you have this. Etu eta petal, etu eta petal, etu eta petal, etu eta petal. Etu ki thalamus no. So if you see cross or nisna, hekane crucifery. So what you need to remember, crucifery basically you have to remember about master. Okay, forget about this. So I think it's understood. Next is amphitropous. Amphitropous, or the best word on which the question is asked is curved and horseshoe shaped. Right? Embryo sac too, the type of the ovule where the embryo sac is, or a type of ovule that has a curved embryo sac. Right? Yate etu eta ovule, etu ovule embryo sac kundu, ekini part. Etu ovule embryo sac kundu, ekini part. Etialoke jiman bilang ami ovule sakilo, it could be that autotropous, it could be anatropous. So both ovule nu ami eneke akisu nai, straight. Kino etu man curved hoy noy. So curved word to monot rakhiba, amphitropous monot rakhiba, that's all. Our question only on these examples and nothing else. Okay. And the last type, buzilu no? Last likha, Cercinotropous. Okay. A ovule to Swason. Look into this diagram. Eto buzi paiso? Eto ki ovule? Jetia micropyle to uporle side ageta kami ki bili kom? Straight ovule or autotropous ovule, right? Jikuno eta straight ovule or edal ki hoy? Funicle, right? So enekwa eta ovule jot niki pothomote straight asile. Tar pisod funicle dal grow kori, it goes around the ovule. Is the point understood? Right? প্ৰথমতে কি আছিলে straight তাৰপিছত কিমান আহিলে 90 degree তাৰপিছত কিমান আহিলে 180 degree তাৰপিছত কি হ'ল আকৌ return 360 হ'ল নে নাই so এটোৰ এংগলটো কি 360 degree 360 degree কি হয় ফানিকলডাল ওভিউলটো কভাৰ কৰি দিয়ে জাস্ট দুটামান পইণ্ট আছে ইকা So I think this is all for today. I mean, ovular part of, we have to talk about 2 more points. We'll do it in the next class, right? Aji ki korilu, we have talked about the structure of the ovule and types of ovule that you see in angiosperms, right? Tar bitor, from entrance point of view, what is important? Types of ovules are angles kita important, and the most common that is seen in gymnosperms, most commonly seen in angiosperms. Thank you.